Welcome to the October 17th, 2023 City Council meeting. Join me for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now it's time for public comments. Harold Hayes.
Yes, a couple items. The first one is about the advent of the new electric bikes, mono wheels, and motorized skateboards that I see being used prolifically now on the sidewalk. You guys probably want to consider drafting an ordinance restricting the use of these in certain areas, because on one occasion I saw a lady with two young kids surprised by a guy on an e-bike, and this guy just flew right by him. This lady's screaming at him because he came really close to those kids. And the ones that are really dangerous are these mono wheels, where your forward foot, you stand on it sideways, look over your shoulder, and the forward foot controls acceleration, the rear foot is the brake. There's nothing to hold on to. And sooner or later, somebody's going to hit a bump or a person, and they're going to knock them right over that Jersey wall on that curve on the hill up here, right into traffic. And it's only a matter of time it's going to happen. And it's especially dangerous on the South Hill, where it's a zero distance line where the sidewalk is actually at the curb. And I think you might want to consider an ordinance that restricts the use of all three of those types of vehicles in those areas. The other issue is the city's budget. And I see there's been kind of an uptick in spending, general fund spending, and I hope we're not getting ahead of ourselves here. We don't know in our uncertain times what kind of downturns are going to take place. If we get a foreign oil embargo in the Straits of Hormuz and the Suez Canal gets closed, it would be easy to see $10 a gallon of gasoline on the West Coast. So if we're spending money in the same fiscal year that we're receiving it, and not knowing a determination how much we're going to get, we could get ourselves in a little bit of a bind there. So I would suggest, as you guys run that out and spend money, you're predicting, estimating what, 617,000, we had 450,000 to cover. Well, what happens if you get a 200,000 shortfall at the end of the fiscal year? So I would suggest that in anything you're spending ahead for what you have not received in a given fiscal year, that you reserve 35% of the estimated income for that year, and carry that over into the next fiscal year. And then at some point, if you kept doing that, you could budget out of that in the future. You could have paid it forward, and you're using money earned in the previous fiscal year to budget the following fiscal year. Thank you.
Adrian Norris.
After reviewing the public records regarding the hiring of the city's golf course manager, it is apparent that the ex-mayor Dick Staples was working 2 months prior to the current manager announcing his end of his year resignation. Public record shows that out of 3 applications, one of the mayor's sons and his girlfriend applying as a team, out of the applications, only one of them was 110% outshining all the others, yet wasn't chosen. This applicant presented a business plan that expressed an understanding of what it takes to run a golf course. In his business plan, he covered every aspect of running an efficient course, including advertising to grow the business. He is certified level 2, T-Coach, PGA certified, also certified in various other areas. He attends annual seminars to expand his knowledge. He is fluent in Spanish, which our community has a need for. He is currently a general manager at a golf course and oversees 50 employees. The other applicants have management experiences in their private businesses, but as far as running a golf course, they provide no experience. I contacted the applicant and asked him if he negotiated a salary or commission rate during his interview. He stated no, but he did talk briefly about an estimate amount based on past years. He told the committee in his Zoom interview that he was okay with the estimated figures. He also stated to the hiring committee that he understands that if he runs a successful course, that he won't have to worry. He also advised me that he emailed Dave Anderson, Ada Gardner, and Secretary Laura Tyler to inform them that he would be happy to use his PGA certification to enable leasing the course, which would generate more revenue. The applicant states that he never received a response. On a side note, I'd like to put the city on notice that the email should have been in my public records, the one that the applicant emailed the committee. This is a violation of Idaho 74-102. It also seems that reading the public records, open meeting laws were violated but quickly corrected. This violates Idaho 74-201. The request for proposal in Idaho Statute 67-2806A was not followed. Lastly, I'd like to question the ethical behavior, potential nepotism, and the cronyism under Idaho Statutes 74-501 through 11 and Idaho Statutes 18-1351 through 1362. It seems clear to me that there is a premeditated act to conspire to hire the ex-mayor's son within the second degree and his son's girlfriend. Potentially the hiring committee has assisted in alleged conspiracy. I would like to request the City of Bonners Ferry investigate all the allegations, and also the City of Bonners Ferry to carefully handle the hiring of a golf course manager and assure that the most qualified applicant is hired. Furthermore, I would also like to request Dick Staples to step down from his mayor position in January 2024 due to his unethical behavior. The state of Idaho, city attorney, and through observation of the registered voters and taxpayers of Bonners Ferry have noticed this. Thank you. I'd also like to let you know that I appreciate, due to the investigation that I had requested in August, which we won't discuss for confidentiality reasons, I do appreciate you guys going ahead today and voting on the CAM upgrades and also the storage capability. I think this is really good. It's going to help create a safety and also accountability, not only for the officers but also for the citizen that's involved. So thank you for considering that today. And I'll send this tomorrow to you guys and Andrew K. Thank you.
Emily? Ms. Garden? Chip, do you want to talk? No? Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make a public comment? We'll move along. Reports, please.
No report.
There's one here. City Administrator.
I was just gonna give a report to council. Staff has been working with the state controller's office about the, what's called the Transparent Idaho page, where we're required to submit our budget numbers and actual numbers. And over the course of the last few weeks, we've been working with, in particular, somebody there at the office to help get us in compliance. We're required to have that by December 1st. This would be for the current fiscal year that we just finished. We are out of compliance currently with our 2021-22 fiscal year due to the fact that we do not have audit, or excuse me, the 21 year completed. But that said, I will let you know that the extra work that staff did this year through budget and preparing the budget publication report that was placed on our website was used as a way to gain us some level of compliance with the state controller's office for payment on time. So proud to say that the extra work made the extra money.
City Engineer.
Yeah, I don't have a written report, but I've got 4 different projects that we have going right now that I thought I'd just update you on. The controls project at the hydro. There was a new panel that was going in that has new PLC and a lot of other controls. That went in yesterday. Still think so we're only 2 days in, and I think we have another probably 2.5 weeks to go before we're done, maybe longer. So, but it's going pretty well, and SCL has done a great job as far as just managing the project. I have a meeting every afternoon with them, and today's was pretty favorable. Staff's been working a lot on a grant application with PAC for lift station number 5. So Debbie, Lisa, and I have all had some part in that, and so we should have an application complete in the next week or two. Be a public hearing here on the 7th for for submitting the application, and there will also be an agenda item on the 7th where you'll have to decide whether you want to expend the funds for our portion of the project. So just thought I'd let you know that's coming on the 7th. And then a couple of other smaller things. Bonner Street tomorrow. The street department and somebody from the water department will actually be pulling up some of those concrete panels that have been pretty deformed, and we can tell there's depression there in the street. So basically we're going to remove about 50 linear feet of street in Bonner Street. The nice thing is that we can shut down the street without really impacting traffic too much, because we close it from the alleyway to Main Street. There's a lot of other ways around, so we'll find out tomorrow just how bad things are underneath the road. So, and then today there was a 6-inch bore completed under Riverside for some of the underground work that we're going to do to complete the Riverside work for the county's road project. It's supposed to start next year, so that's all I have. Unless you have questions.
I got a couple.
Okay.
On the new highway out here, why is in the traffic lane, they had those drainage things? Why do they have to have them right in there?
That's a question I've been asking other engineers for years. I don't know why people do that. They put them right in the middle of the lane.
Yeah.
I can't answer. I don't know why it's not in the turn lane. Couldn't tell you.
Also, would you explain that pond out there again, how that water?
Yes, yeah, so, Pine Island Road has a lot more asphalt and goes down the road, and I was pretty concerned that a lot more drainage water would go down Pine Island Road, which we now are on the hook to maintain. But the way the drainage works, I haven't been able to really look around down there to see until now. I can see how the drains work a lot better when you get up close to them, but basically everything collects on the west side of the road and is carried into the pond on the east side. And I just didn't think the grade was there. Optically, it doesn't look like it would work, but that's the way it flows. So that means a lot. We won't have as much water going down Pine Island Road towards the tracks.
Just off of the road, on Pine Island Road.
Right. Yeah.
Not
That should.
off of the north side of the highway.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I understand the design. I had to do some work late last week with ITD just to look at some of the transition areas where there should be some rock and gravel, and also some way to keep mud from getting into the road.
So it should be considerably less because it used to all drain down there.
Right.
So once it goes into that pond area, does it filter down through the ground?
Yep.
So,
So, so, one thing, just to bring it up to, there was some discussion by a landowner that at La Brasso Road that there wasn't adequate lighting for crossing the street there, and I believe the electric department put a new light up today. So we just figured if ITD was to jump in and take care of it, it's gonna be pretty difficult to do now, because I think the contractor's pretty much gone, so. Got the crosswalk, yeah, so that should be hopefully lit up enough. We'll have to look and see. You said you had more questions, Rod, so.
No, that was two.
That was two, okay.
anything else? Urban renewal? Spot?
No report.
EDC?
Yeah, wanna give you an update on the broadband projects. EL Automation submitted 2 projects under the Capital Project Fund, bucket of money that the state of Idaho has. Hopefully this month, the Broadband Advisory Board will have a decision on those. We'll know if EL got funded on those. Idaho also has $583 million of federal money under the BEAD program for broadband, and they're rolling out. They've got a plan right now online that they have to submit to the federal government and get approved before they can actually get the funds. But those grant funds probably won't be available until next year, and then they'll roll out over probably 3 years. One of the things that they're wanting all the local entities or counties or areas to do is to form a broadband action team. I've been watching, the U of I has been selected as a host site for the American Connection Corps, AmeriCorps program, and Boundary County is one of the sites for that. And that is one of their duties, was to facilitate a broadband action team. Unfortunately, U of I hasn't been able to find anyone for Boundary County. So we'll probably know in the next week is their kind of drop dead date to see if they get a candidate or not. If they don't, I'll ask the BEDC board if they'd like me to facilitate that broadband action team. And it's really just to make sure that all of the community's needs are met, work with the broadband providers, make sure that all the public anchor institutions are being served with fiber. We are a lot better off than most rural counties in Idaho, based on the fact, Zipley's done some fiber, EL has done a lot with wireless and fiber, and then, FATBE and Intermax have done some as well. So, if you're interested, I can give you the link to the Idaho's plan that they're submitting to the federal government. They're asking for comments right now. The Moye Sewer Project is ongoing. I don't know if you had a chance to read the Herald article, but yeah, that's gonna be an ongoing thing probably for the next month or so, trying to figure out what to do with those sewer fees, or the engineering fees rather. So probably be on their next agenda again. There is a renewing economic vitality meeting, they're calling a Rev Up meeting. It's put on by PAC and their counterpart in Region 2, CETA. That's this Thursday at the Coeur d'Alene Casino Pavilion. Lisa's gonna go, I'll be presenting, be talking about transportation planning on part of a panel to talk about the experience here in Bonners with the highway planning and such. If you're interested, you're welcome to go. Moye, 2 of their council people are going, both Les and Deb are gonna be going down to that. Last month I mentioned at the Visitor Center, we've seen quite an uptick from last year. I did look at the numbers for August, 73% higher than last August, so we have a lot more people coming through, which is nice to see.
Think that has anything to do with the increased hours at the border, maybe?
I think somewhat it all helps. I think travel's getting more back to normal.
Right.
We do have more hours this year than we did last year, which helps as well. So. Yes, Ron?
On those engineering fees out at
Yes.
Moye, I mean, should they have to pay them, that's gonna go right back to the taxpayer.
It will. So not dollar for dollar, because part of their funding package from DEQ is a loan forgiveness package, but they only forgive about 65% of the amount. So part of it would be shouldered by DEQ, which would reduce the amount of money that they have for other projects in other areas, and then part of it would be passed on to the Moye.
And this will hold the whole project up till they.
No, it's not going to. They awarded the bid to Bonners Ferry Builders. That process has started, they're going through that. I don't think it'll hold it up. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I make motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Brian?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Okay, new business, city. We need to discuss and consider nominating a council president to replace me for the remainder of the term, which is until January, and new elections come up. They appoint, every time that we have an election, after everybody's sworn in, then we have to replace the council president. Well, since I moved up to mayor, we have an empty council president position, so we need to discuss and make a nomination for a new council president.
I'd like to nominate Val. If she would accept.
I was thinking that it should probably be somebody who's here and available during the day, so that's part of, I mean, while I would do that, I think it should
Yeah.
probably be somebody who's around, so.
Very true.
So that's where I am, I wanna make sure that it's somebody who's
Yeah.
around, so, because I have a full-time job that is meeting during the day, I think that it would be better off having somebody who would be available during those times. So, otherwise I'd be more than happy to do it. So,
Makes
so,
sense.
I would nominate you instead.
Turnabout's fair play.
That's right. So I would rather do it that way.
Well, I was thinking.
Because you're retired.
Yeah, I was thinking along the lines of somebody who's been here a lot longer,
Okay.
which would point to Ron. What do you think, Ron? Would you like to be president?
Yes,
I'd like to nominate you.
well, that would be fine, I'd accept.
Okay.
I mean, voting is-
Are we done discussing?
I'm done.
Well, if, are you gonna have the time and wanna be able to do that? So, do you wanna do it?
Yes.
Okay,
Only talking 2 months.
it is only two,
Yeah,
yeah,
So,
that's true.
so what's this look like then?
Need a motion.
need a motion.
I make a
Oh.
motion that we, elect Ron as, city council president.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Adam,
Yes.
Val,
Yes?
Brian,
Yes,
and I'll just leave you out.
didn't get to vote for himself.
All right, moving on, consider the purchase of a hydraulic tilt trailer for city departments' use in the amount of up to $12,000 to be split evenly between water, sewer, electric, and general fund.
I'll take this one,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. The, city staff brings before you the request to purchase a trailer. We have, the frequent need to move equipment around between departments and some of the restrictions with the existing trailers where you have the, wheel wells prevent the movement of certain equipment that's wider. So, and in particular, the issue came up as the most prevalent issue over last year because of the need to move the golf course equipment back and forth to the city yard for the mechanic to work on. So, in discussions with all the utilities, they feel that, not only would this piece of equipment help serve in that capacity, but also in the other utilities as they move larger equipment. The purpose of the tilt trailer was simply the ease of access versus having to put the wheel wells, or what do you call those things, the tracks on there to ramps to be able to load. So we did find one, and I will acknowledge, I think, the comment that was made by Mr. Higgs during the public comment about spending money before we have it. You know, these funds would come from the funds on the general fund side of the surplus that we received over the last fiscal year. So those are funds that we have in place in hand. With that, I'd stand for any questions.
What I understand about tilt trailers, and I have used them, they are safer than using anything you're putting ramps on to climb up onto a deck with an excavator or anything else you're moving. Tilt trailers are much, much safer. And faster. So you're saving time and you're being safer.
make a motion that we, purchase the hydraulic tilt trailer for the city departments to use, in the amount of $12,000 to be split evenly between water, sewer, and electric, and the general fund.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Ron?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay, under electric, consider approval of contract with EL Automation in the amount of $20,000 to complete boring and replacement of primary line that serves customers in Moye Springs.
Yeah, every year the city replaces approximately $125,000 worth of overhead lines and buried lines, that, just get old and aged, and we get a lot of ground faults in, Moye Springs. Some of it has to do with just the material that's buried in, and also, old wire. You know, we have a lot of ground faults in certain areas of Moye, so, the crew would like to get all the bores completed and then replace the line and then decommission the old lines that are damaged, so, Kevin kinda roughed out for me, what he thought he would need in order to complete the sections he's looking at, and 20,000 is a pretty good, upper end, I think, so.
Didn't they do one on Riverside?
Yeah, we did that today.
So they did that and
Yeah.
you were happy with the work?
Yeah, great job. Yeah.
Alright. I'd make a motion that we approve contract EL Automation for the amount of 20,000, to complete the boring at Moye Springs.
Motion been made and seconded. Val?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay, under water and sewer, consider approval of vehicle purchase for the water and sewer department in the amount of $49,218.40.
Yeah, this is something that's been in our capital plan for a couple of years. Last year, we actually ordered this pickup for the water and sewer department, but it never arrived. There was that kind of a shortage last year, and so, we're attempting to reorder again through Taylor and Sons in Sandpoint. I'm sorry, Ponderay. And it's given the build list that you can see here, I think it's an excellent quote at 49,000, so,
What was our quote for last year?
45,000.
Seems pretty reasonable considering the way things have gone up.
Yeah, and both, John Delaney and Jimmy kinda went through the build list together and, confirmed that this is the vehicle that they'll need, so. And like I say, it was on the capital plan last year, it was included in the capital plan this year too, so.
And I think for the record purposes tonight, the reason it never was built was because the companies that held the purchase for state procurement process simply could not get the vendors to produce those for government vehicles.
So it wasn't through the last
No.
And so if you choose to move forward, I think in the third paragraph there, I talk about the process of approving, and then if we could get, if you choose to move forward, get the authorization for to sign this quote sheet that we can send back, and then we'll officially get on the waiting list, so.
Well, and maybe if UAW realizes that the city of Bonner's Ferry needs this road, maybe we ought to go do some temporary strikes here.
Yeah, we'll be looking at Bonner's for sure.
Make a motion to approve vehicle purchase of $49,280.40 and authorize mayor to sign that order.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Ron?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Val? Adam?
Yes.
Okay, under water and sewer, consider acceptance of bids for the new vacuum truck for the water and sewer department.
Yes, so last Friday, we opened the only bid, that we received for, the vacuum flusher truck, and, I think, just for the sake of the audience and those that don't know, the last truck we bought was an '07, it gets used pretty hard. We were able to excavate with it in all kinds of weather without necessarily getting locates, because you can actually use the jetter on the front and the vacuum portion to actually dig a hole without damaging things. So it's pretty useful in all types of cases, like sewer backups, of course, water main breaks, flushing, that sort of thing. So as far as the bid goes, it was actually better than what we'd expected. We, in the capital plan, had 800,000 scheduled for it. A recent quote showed us about 602,000 based on the build we were looking at, and this is slightly less than that. Another thing that I wanted to point out to you is that in the capital plan, I showed 50-50 split with water and sewer, and since that time, I've talked with the water and sewer department more about it, just the percentage that gets used. It's more, leans more towards sewer than water, so I show a split tonight of 25-75, with sewer being the heavier payer, and so I thought, but I know this is a big decision. It's a lot of money, and wanted to kind of walk through maybe the second sheet with you before you make any type of a decision. So basically, a lot of these numbers are from the budget when we look at emergency reserve and operating reserve. If you start at the top, you'll see the estimated cash that we currently have in water and sewer. We have our money basically in two places, and one of those is what they call Mountain West Sweep account, and the other one is the state pool. And so when you take the total for water and the total for sewer, that would be the third row that you see there. And then if you look at the 25-75 split with water and sewer in the next row, you'll see what you'd be left over with the approximate balance after purchase. So that just really tells you what your approximate cash position would be after the purchase, which looks pretty good. And when we were going through the budgeting workshops, you guys probably remember there was a lot of talk about operating reserve, there was a lot of talk about emergency reserve. And so basically you see those numbers in there as deductions to your current cash position. So that when you look at the very bottom, you'll see that it says available cash at the end of 24. That's where we expect to see an excess cash above the operating and emergency reserves if you follow through with everything that's in the capital plan plus buy this back again. I think in the capital plan I also kind of showed, or we showed, that you could actually stretch this out over 5 years with a lease option, appropriation lease, excuse me. And we had that scheduled, but we also made a note in the capital plan that you may choose to do this with cash if you have the cash available. My opinion is that you do have the cash to do this, but I should let you know that the available cash at the end of 24, if you look at that would leave you with, we're estimating $426,000 in sewer at the end of the fiscal year. That's, like I say, above the emergency and operating reserves. But what will happen is in the next year, we have a significant expense in 25 that will be due to the lift station. Like I was talking on the 7th, you'll have a public hearing to, as to whether you want to apply for that grant or not. And also, we'll have a decision that we'll need to make on whether you are willing to spend the cash that's estimated and needed for lift station 5. Well, that total amount will be close to $700,000. So you can see that there's a deficit between, what's coming in 25 and what you'll have estimated at the end of 24. Some of the things that you don't know are how much cash will you accumulate between now and then, because the sewer department's pretty solid in that it grows slowly, but it doesn't have a lot of variations. The income is fairly steady. There's no debt currently in the sewer department, and so it's a pretty solid account. But we don't exactly know how much cash you're going to have at the end of the fiscal year. And one thing that I can see that I might have made a mistake during the budgeting process is I showed an emergency reserve that's quite high, and it's substantially higher than that in water. I think that's gonna look, probably need some reevaluation. And I think too, if you take that into account, I think you're gonna still be sitting pretty well at the end of the fiscal year to go into 25 with the ability to also feed lift station 5, so.
So if we do the appropriations, please, how much is that add to the cost?
Well, I think one of the challenges we're gonna have right now is that no bank will loan to us because we're gonna have. I don't think it's an option at this point.
Why is our emergency reserve so much higher in sewer?
I looked at our budget numbers and I'm not exactly sure what caused that to bump up so much, but that's something we'll
It's
definitely dig
typically
into, so.
speaking, our reserve, our emergency reserve is what we think, if we had a catastrophic failure or some level of our wellness system or system, parts of the system. Yeah, so,
So even it shows as a deduction, it's not really, I mean, it's still there.
It's still cash in
And it
your
will be
account.
there at the end, which would bump it up to like 1.2 million instead of 400,000.
So this kind of makes it look a lot worse than it really is. It's just that this is the bottom line would be the cash that you'd have available to spend on capital if you follow through with the other numbers that are there for your operating emergency reserve.
Are those reserve numbers the numbers that we want, or are they just the ones that we have?
So there, our reserve policy that's been adopted by the council is that we set minimum emergency reserve amount to reflect what I just said, the major catastrophe plus the capital plan for that ensuing fiscal year. So we don't have deferred maintenance or deferred capital going on, and then 90 days of operating expense. So every utility is going to look at what they need for their particular system and the lies behind that. And those are the ones that council has to take into account to step.
How much do they recommend that we have in the budget?
Well, emergency is one that's typically, estimated by the public works director in an organization, just because you have to evaluate what is a reasonably anticipated emergency. I mean, you could say, well, our lagoons are going to blow out. You're looking at millions and millions of dollars. Whereas if you look at something more realistic, like a lift station failure, well, you're likely going to spend $3, $4, maybe $500,000. So if I was to reevaluate the emergency reserve, I'd probably set it more closely to $500,000 versus $850 to see, because I think, you can shoot the moon and say, well, I want to be able to cover the worst possible event, and actually that's not very reasonable when it comes to budgeting. I think $500,000 is probably pretty substantial for an emergency.
What is it?
I'm showing it at $850 right now.
850?
Yeah.
So, I guess does 340 seem kind of low on the water, I guess is what I was.
Yeah, I believe that both probably sitting in about the $500,000 mark are probably pretty good numbers. So,
One more question, what do you plan to do with the old truck?
well, we actually plan to keep it, because, in consultation with the Vector truck supplier, we asked him a question last week, after the bid was open, we called him, just to say, hey, you're the low bidder. So we asked him, what should we do with it? If we trade this in, what kind of value would that yield? And he said, maybe $50,000 or $60,000, So he said you'd be better off to just sell it outright, but he goes, if I was you, I'd just keep it. And so there's, unfortunately, right now it's not running great, so every time it goes out, it needs repairs pretty much, so.
We're spending on average around $20,000 a year to keep it operational. So we'll have to evaluate whether or not we want to keep doing that or surplus it at auction.
First, now, if you have a new one sitting there, this old one's gonna have limited use,
Right,
if it gets used at all.
right, yeah, we want to keep it operational.
Do you have
Yeah.
a foreseen need for two of them? I mean, is it
No,
ever occurred?
but I actually do agree with the salesman's logic in keeping two, because I think there's gonna be a day when the other one has to go into the shop for something, and you have an emergency here. I would wanna have an extra one here if you have it, so. City of Post Falls kind of follows that model. They recently did something like that where they kept I think a mid-90s model Vector truck, as well as buy a new one, and kept the old one, so. I think there's a lot of good sense in doing that, so.
lease retainer.
Do we have,
Yeah.
do we have storage for it?
No, that's something that I've talked a little bit with Rick about, just the idea that, we do need to build something to house at least one. Right now, we store the current one in the electric shop because there's a spare bay there. But we really do need to build, a shop that will hold both. If you choose to get this one and you have to, so.
I know we've discussed other storage needs also.
Yeah.
And it could be
In the
accommodated.
form of a lean-to as opposed to a four-wall shop.
Yeah, there's definitely some options that I would like to come forward to you with, in the coming months that we might be able to build for next year. The crew would like to, right now I can tell you, they would like to build something themselves to do it, so, that might be a way we can save some money in building something.
There's plenty of room up on the hill for.
Yeah, but I think before we build anything more up there, we really need to master plan out how we build on the hill, because right now, I think what's happened over time is we have a building and we need more space, so we just add on to it in different directions, and right now we're kind of inefficient. And so, also, the way the water plant is, laid out, it was intended that a new filter in the future would go on the north side of the building, which would actually cut off the flow of traffic towards the water shop and the current filter building. So, we need to really rethink how we're, we need a strategy, basically.
Need an engineer.
That's, we figured it out.
We need an architect.
An architect.
Yeah, architect.
Yeah, so anyway, I know that's a lot of information to take in, but we wanted to just make sure you understood the implications of this purchase. I still do recommend it.
I make a motion, we purchase the vacuum flusher truck using water department cash to cover 25% of the purchase, and 75% from the sewer department, and to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Owen Equipment to purchase a vacuum flusher truck for $595,260.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Brian?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Val?
Yeah.
Okay, number 9 under planning, consider supplemental contract with Brune Yeager and Associates to complete code reform updates to Title 11 and Title 12 Bonners Ferry City Land Use and Subdivision Code in response to the 2023 Comprehensive Plan of Updates in the amount not to exceed without prior approval of $20,000.
Mr. Mayor, I'll jump in on this one if you're okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so, there was a memo provided to council in a, kind of summarizing this project. The city received from the Blue Cross Foundation 2 years ago, $20,000, call it I don't wanna call it a grant, it really wasn't a grant, it was essentially a donation to the city to activate our previous grant that we received, for $50,000 in order to do the comprehensive plan. So we put that money into kind of earmarked, held it until we got done with our comprehensive plan, and now are moving forward with code reform. It seems most efficient. $20,000 when you're talking about code reform is a very small amount of money to really try to squeeze a lot out of. And the best way and the most efficient way, in my opinion, would be to use our contract services that we already have as Ren Yeager. That said, I did ask that Ren Yeager provide with us, and I apologize, in the packet, the exhibit A didn't make it in there, so you received from the clerk a copy of that letter from Ren Yeager and Associates. That outlines the work that they would do for that amount, and then, of course, our supplemental agreement would be, in addition to the existing agreement we already have in place. It is a time and materials based contract with them, that's a base contract. This would be a not to exceed, so we'd still stay in that, it would be a lump sum, it would be a time and materials. And I would work directly with the planner and the Planning and Zoning Commission to help develop that code. So as a means of education, this is really about implementing the comprehensive plan in its, in the existing city code, which is Title 11, Title 12. Happy to answer your questions.
Is this money that was received from Blue Cross, correct?
The 20,000 was this.
Yeah.
Well, Milty had
Not a
already decided.
grant, but it was in the form of a.
Yeah, the money came from, they ran a program that we participated in and helped kind of co-sponsor when it came to developing a program, and in process of doing that and completing it, they didn't tell you at the time, but they told you after you completed it, that they were gonna give the city a donation, and that came in the form of that 20,000. We had to articulate back how we were gonna use that in a way to further the aspirations that Blue Cross has, and I verbally told them that was our intention, was to do it this way, and they were fine with us holding onto that money until the comp plan was completed.
But I thought that we had already decided this in a meeting, we'd already made the
That's
motions
why
to.
it sticks in my head, yeah.
The budget, so when we talked about budget, it was, so I just wanna make sure you understand, we probably made a motion to receive the money, but this is a motion to basically adopt a supplemental contract with Ring Yeager.
Okay,
So the money behind it, it's already been accepted by the city.
alright, but we had already decided how to use it, just not to have the contract with Ruin Yeager
This is
themselves.
specifically the element of spending that money consciously. and
With
the-
them.
And the goals that Ring Yeager will do or try to meet in response to that.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the contract with Rune Yeager and Associates to complete code reform updates to Title 11 and Title 12 bonus for Ferry City Land Use and Subdivision Code for the amount of $20,000.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Brian?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Okay, under police, consider reallocation of ARPA funds from the in-car repeaters to body and dash camera system for the police department.
As you know, we had $30,000 earmarked of ARPA dollars that were frozen up until recently. The money sits there, and that $30,000 was earmarked for in-car repeaters. We bought one for $5,000. It did not do what was promised, and we're not interested in spending that money on those repeaters that really didn't do us any good. Communication was certainly at the top of our list, but something else that's been on our list is dash cams for our patrol cars. And as you can see from the memo, that their Motorola wanted $77,000 for their product, and Jeremy Garrett, give him the credit of researching different companies and found the company called 10-8 that has a product that we're very pleased with, and spoke with different agencies that have them, and they've had very good luck with them. So that's a new body camera and dash cam, and storage added to that of 100 terabytes. So that'll take care of several years. It actually, the purchase of that with the storage actually goes a little over the $25,000 we had left over earmarked for the in-car repeaters, but I had another $10,000 earmarked for rifles and optics. We are receiving a donation from the Idaho State Police of all of our rifles. So they're all gonna be universal and they're all identical, which does not exist at this time. So that's gonna save a lot of money, and that will take care of the balance needed to purchase the in-car cameras and body cameras, and then still have enough money left over for optics for those rifles. We'll be receiving those towards the end of this month. So that's my request.
You're actually gonna pick those up in
I'm
Coeur
gonna
d'Alene?
pick those up at the end of the month in Boise.
In Boise, okay.
Yes.
And you're getting 10 of them, not 8.
Yeah, we'll have some spares.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, very.
Quick donation.
In
Yeah.
response to the previous resolution that council passed allocating those funds, I provided you a summary of the police allocations within my memo. If there's any questions, I know, we have a council member here who is still kind of getting up to speed as far as those decisions that were previously made. I'd be happy to answer any questions, because it relates to the previous resolution.
You have on here shotguns, 13,500. Or is that supposed to be rifles?
Rifles was 10, shotguns were 3,500.
Oh, so that was
That's where-
rifles
that was the
and
total.
shotguns.
Right.
I think I
So
just
we're
called
still
them
going,
guns.
yeah,
She
you
just
just call
called
them
them-
guns.
Okay,
Okay.
now, yeah.
But but we're still doing the shotguns.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So that would leave 10 come over, okay. And there's absolutely no way to get money back on that repeater that doesn't do what you wanted it to do?
No, it's about like a dead horse.
You buy it, it's yours.
Yep.
Hmm.
What brand was that?
I don't know, brand.
No, thought maybe it was Motorola.
Something to avoid.
Yes, certainly.
Hmm. Well, at least you had the sense to try one before you bought the whole bunch.
Yeah. that
And I
would've
thank
been
you for that.
same.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Any other questions for the chief?
and this would conclude the spending of our upper dollars, correct?
No.
No,
No?
no, we still have the car money sitting out there, but no cars
Right.
available.
We got 24 to spend that. I
I'd
think
say
24 is the, what's that?
Until the end of 20.
Oh,
Yeah,
until
no,
the, oh, I thought you said
yes, correct.
24,000.
No,
No,
no.
there's more than
I was
that
talking
available,
year.
but
We have to have it spent by the end of this year, 24,
next year, yeah,
next year.
Yeah.
we'll figure
As long as
something
we
out.
don't let that slip through the cracks, right?
Not
That'd
gonna
be a bad
forget.
thing. You're not gonna, I know you won't forget. Okay.
And if you look there, the staff did include in the packet the resolution, which I believe is resolution.
Oh.
That right? 22-001 has appendix A, which shows the previous allocation amounts. And you'll see, the intended years of those are supposed to be spent. I don't have a summary of what's been spent so far, showing a collective expenditures, but I'd be happy to give that if there's any questions.
This motion sounds like.
Okay, it's going to sound a little ugly possibly,
Yeah,
so.
this is a motion that's
I-
difficult, yeah.
I make a motion that we reallocate the ARP funds from the in-car repeaters, to the body and dash camera system for the police department, with the shotgun previous authorization from 13,500 to the new allocation of 3,500, from the tasers of 16,
That was
is that how,
no,
is that how it's gonna go?
not tasers, tasers.
That would be shotguns.
Oh, shotguns?
You
The
get that one.
3,500 be shotguns, that leave 10 left over for
Shotguns, okay,
rifles that we're not gonna buy.
and then,
Mr. Mayor, if I could help.
just,
Yes.
please,
You might just say as provided within the staff.
as provided within the staff report, because we have a whole
A
list,
lot of twists and turns.
along with the in-car, yes. So the total amount, $27,331,
Correct.
that's what we're going for.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded, Ron?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes. Sticky one.
It was sticky and ugly.
Yeah. That's why I thought you should do it.
Okay, number 11 under city is, we were looking at a Christmas party, which we haven't had for several years due to COVID.
Actually, we just took one off last year.
It was just one that was the only one?
I don't think we have one here before.
Do we know?
I don't think so.
Sorry.
So anyways, we put out some feelers to see what it would cost to do this. And I believe Debbie has.
The only place that was available that would house everybody was the Cooking Brand. And that came in at $5,972.50. Laura did have a code to chicken chop, and that's our only places because the Northwest Territory Movement Center is not doing events in this winter.
Okay, so the one, bid that we do have is significantly higher than what we spent in the past. And I believe it was last year, we did gift cards to the employees. And so we were discussing possibly doing, a gift card to the employees and to our volunteer workers that man the, visitor center and do planning and zoning, things like that. In lieu of a Christmas party. So it'd be open to discussion on if anybody thinks that that is a good idea or a bad one, or.
What I understand is past Christmas parties were done via the staff doing a potluck.
No,
Wasn't it?
no,
I thought
it was always catered,
Oh, it always was catered.
but it was up to the staff to put it all together, which is kinda mean to the staff, I mean.
Put your
you're
own
supposed
party
to-
together.
Yeah, so, and then cleaning up afterwards,
Okay.
right? So that's why we decided we would look at the inn again, or anybody else that would be interested in bidding on it, and, but it's just become kinda cost prohibitive to do that. So we thought maybe if we did like a $50 gift card instead. And Lisa had an idea of talking to the employees, and they could sign up for a gift card from different places that we could select from, or maybe we could just get like a Visa card where they could use everywhere. So,
Yeah, my thought was is that if you wanna keep it local in town, we could simply just say, council's willing to buy gift certificates from these restaurants. And they could sign up for that and we just pretty much go and buy that for them, give it to them. It keeps the money local in town.
What was that gonna total to?
Well, I just suggested it as a potential option if we didn't wanna do
Yeah.
a party, I didn't set the amount that would be.
So if you were $50 an employee, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
How
Yeah.
many employees?
We have about 30-ish full-time employees.
and we got the fire department, volunteers, so we're probably looking at, probably 60. Yeah, that's what we think.
60.
So you'd be looking at
3,000.
about $3,000 roughly, which is half of what it would cost to
Have a party.
have a party.
I'm about doing the gift cards this year because I think that we need to continue to look at our spending. I appreciate all of our employees very much, but I think sometimes they would almost appreciate, a gift as much as the party itself. That's the way I felt as an employee, and I don't know.
Over the last few Christmas parties that I've been to, attendance has been greatly increased.
You kinda, it can be a little appreciated at times.
Well, when you're talking
Not
Christmas
better
party,
term.
you know, you're having the employee and volunteer plus their spouse, so that automatically raises the amount of.
And the gifts that you get, because that's another thing that we've always done too, is we give gifts at the employee party. The gift cards and things like that, when we do all the drawings,
Right,
so it's an extra expense as well. I mean,
That brings up to $8,000.
But- depends on, have you heard anything about employees and where they stand on Christmas parties? Anybody?
We haven't had an open conversation about options. Really the point of this was to open that dialogue up. The
Sure.
council doesn't have to make a decision tonight, we can certainly take it back to the employees, ask their opinions. I do think though, personally speaking, that if we do the gift card options, that if you buy them locally to be used locally, it does circulate that money.
Makes more sense.
So giving the employee the option about where they wanna go does give them sort of a control back about versus getting a card somewhere that they don't like to go to.
Sure.
So you could leave it to your heads of departments to take a little tally with all their employees.
I certainly can
See
have-
what they think.
Conversation with my staff on Monday,
Meet on Monday, and bring you back a consensus.
we can either come back to you with what the thoughts are, or we can set a limit on what we wanna spend. Either.
table this for tonight. Maybe do a little more research on it, come back with, better numbers and better ideas. Make sure we're going in the right direction, in those things, and throwing money into a party that nobody wants.
We can do that, so let's table it.
I don't need a motion for that, do you?
No.
Okay.
Okay, last item on the agenda is to consider the 2024 flower basket purchase and expenditure authorization. You're up.
So we were able to get, 3 quotes, but we're kind of a little bit late, so I'm not for sure, on the availability of being able to get them delivered. I know we had a red light for one of them, and go past that, but we have to call it, prices. So they have gone up. Last year's, Green's Greenhouse did our baskets this year. It was $4,200 last year. This year it will be $5,760. Preach Garden Greenhouse was $53.89.28, and then Priest Gardens, who did our baskets 2 years ago, and these both were with delivery to the basket. Priest Gardens will not deliver, and that is reusing baskets that we had 2 years ago. This department kind of liked those baskets, so they kept them, and so that one is a lot lower because we're reusing the baskets that they got delivery at $46.79.
But we have to make arrangements to get them to them.
Yes.
That's what the problem.
You'll see it in the memo that I provided to council, I did try to give you a fiscal impact statement. How did we plan for this budget? How do we plan for this expense in the budget? And, you'll see that our early estimates are giving a range between 45 to 6,000, which Debbie just summarized for you. We budgeted 4,000 for this, but last year, we didn't know, just didn't understand where we were building that to, we spent 4,200, so we should have probably anticipated a greater cost this year.
So Debbie, who was it that had the 4679?
Priest Garden.
Priest Garden, where are they at?
Priest Garden. So there's nobody locally that will, give you them, I guess, in case of our greenhouse and whatever, it's kind of hard to find, even, I think, or the one in Tampa, they wouldn't even do it. Flower Farm, they wouldn't, they handle that many units on that, so, and the other ones are put down, so.
Transporting 70 baskets, it's quite a bit.
So at this point, I think the recommendation or request to council is you can consider approving an authorization up to an amount that includes bidding on the lease so we can work with any of those vendors. We are not confident that anyone will bid this with us. At this point, we're just asking for authorization to spend in excess of what we budgeted with the idea that we work with a vendor like Money that are confident that if council wishes to move forward with that next year.
Is that every rifle down?
There's about 70 to 72 that we hang.
Just trying to remember, is it every one?
I think they're still out there, but I think there's 2 on each.
2 on every one.
I think it'd be lopsided. I don't think I could do that.
So is there a
Yeah.
time constraint on this, we need to move on it, or no? Or-
Yes,
Like right now.
We're already
Yeah,
past the deadline. of
past the
one.
deadline.
Usually you have to order in September, and we're just like, because I'm not realizing, our office, we're the ones that ordered for the previous year, so we didn't have that part in the state job. So, we were not aware that they had to be ordered.
may not be a very popular opinion, but I do believe that it's important for us to maintain the upkeep of our town and the charm of our town. I think it's very important for us to have those flowers. So that's really where I stand on it. I think, despite the fact that there is an expense, it's a significant expense. But I also think there's something about having pride in our hometown. I think it's very important for us to invest in the place that we want to be.
We do get lots of compliments.
And I think that that's huge for our businesses, and I think it's an important part of who we are and our attitude. There's something about, last week, we had a homecoming parade, and I was proud to be in Lawrenceburg. So, I think that we should do it. And I think that we should give the staff the opportunity to choose the flowers that they want to choose. So, I knew that we were just discussing it, so. Okay, I make a motion that we exceed the cost range, that we authorize staff to spend up to $6,000 for the baskets for the 2024 summer season.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded, Ron?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
That concludes our agenda, we are adjourned.